Tulane University calls the abuse of nitrous oxide a growing and disturbing national problem after thousands of Whippet chargers were littered across lawns around the university following Mardi Gras. We began detailing the growing problem connected to nitrous oxide or Whippets last fall. And since then, we've seen more cases.
Earlier this week, we introduced you to a family from Missouri awarded $750 million by a jury last fall after their daughter was killed by a man driving while inhaling nitrous oxide.
Rob Krieger traveled to St. Louis to meet the family, who says a company selling nitrous here and across the country is supplying a high.
Marissa Politte was just a few steps away from work when Trenton Geiger slammed into her with his parents' SUV.
Did you get lost, honey?
Knocking the young radiology technician out of her shoes, sending her body through the glass and metal door frame back into the lobby of Total Access Urgent Care, where she stood only moments earlier.
I knew she was going to call me. And it was her work letting me know that there was an accident and she was not responsive and I needed to get to the hospital right away.
Within hours, Karen Chaplin's daughter was gone. The man who went to prison for killing her walked away from the violent crash, leaving a trail of nitrous oxide cartridges behind him.
We had never heard of nitrous oxide before. We didn't know what Whippets were.
Jason Politte, Melissa's father, was floored to find out the hallucinogenic inhalant that caused Geiger to pass out behind the wheel moments before killing his daughter is sold right over the counter.
But then to find out that it's so easily accessible. You can go into a smoke shop or a head shop and buy this stuff. And buy as much as you want.
These kids are able to get this stuff on every corner.
They're selling as many as they can, and they don't care what people are doing with them.
Attorney Johnny Simon represented Karen and Jason in a civil trial last fall in St. Louis County Court that shouldered the blame for Marissa's death primarily on United Brands, the company that manufactures and sells Whippet brand nitrous oxide across the country, claiming they clearly knew their nitrous would fall into the hands of people searching for a high.
Selling nitrous oxide as an inhalant is illegal under federal law.
Yet it's in smoke shops, whose primary business is to sell things that are meant for inhaling.
Many state laws, including here in Louisiana, allow businesses to sell nitrous oxide in most cases without limits, as long as it's intended for use as a food propellant in preparations like whipped cream.
One cartridge makes 16 ounces of whipped cream, the equivalent of 2 tubs of Cool Whip. So essentially you're selling this kid 48 tubs of Cool Whip. Do you think he's going to be going and using it for whipped cream?
Everybody's worried about making a little bit of money.
Simon introduced internal emails into evidence during the trial showing United Brands was aware it was selling to smoke shops that were eager to look the other way to inflate profit.
There is no better evidence than their own emails showing that they know it's being used a certain way and proceeding to continue with those sales.
In an email correspondence between United Brands account executive Nick Sweden and a retailer, the retailer writes, "I'm pumped about this. We think we can make a lot of money selling your products, which means you will make a lot of money too. I also wanted to get pricing for your nitrous as well. Given our customer base, I'm sure we could move a F-ton of those as well. So please send us some pricing numbers on that also." 10 minutes later, Sweden writes back, attaching the pricing for United Brands nitrous, and then this disclaimer: please ensure that both butane and cream chargers are used properly and legally. The next day, the retailer writes back, "Thanks for the pricing, Nick. I'll run everything by the owner. And yeah, man, we know the deal. We put a disclaimer on all our hydroponic equipment in our store. This product is not intended for any illicit purposes. Not that anybody is
Growing tomatoes with the stuff, right? We all know we have to cover our asses. And it's like, if you're trying to prove there is no more explicit evidence, I mean, should that shop be supplied with hundreds of thousands of nitrous oxide chargers? I I mean, that's really the question.
But Simon argues United Brands targeted retailers just like this, presenting taped deposition from a former employee who explained 75% of United Brands sales nationwide were to obvious head shops and smoke shops.
I mean, that tells me that they have a business and it surely isn't gourmet whipped cream.
In the suit, Simon points out the staggering differences in quantities of nitrous oxide sold by United Brands, including to a coffee company in St. Louis, a business with a practical purpose for whipped cream. In 7 years, the coffee company purchased 51,724 nitrous oxide chargers. In those same 7 years, United Brands sold a head shop 1.3 million chargers. In 2 years, another coffee shop bought 4,000 chargers. In just 12 months, the Coffin Cardinal bought 40,000.
Look at their sales numbers over a period of time, and you can say this shop here in Kansas City or here in St. Louis sold enough nitrous oxide chargers for the streets of St. Louis to be paved in 3 feet of whipped cream.
We supply to retail stores for the purpose of using it as a food additive to make whipped cream and drinks and so forth, not for any illicit use.
Jurors heard United Brands' responses to Simon's arguments through video deposition of CEO Nasir Zaria. It was recorded last summer for Marissa Politte's wrongful death case against the company, nearly 3 years after she was killed. And yet Simon says some of the answers from the CEO left him stunned.
Your counsel receives this information more than a year prior to Marissa Politte's death.
Prior to who?
Do you know who Marissa Politte is?
No, sir.
Mr. Zaharia, you don't know who Marissa Politte is?
No, I don't.
No one's ever told you that?
No.
You know, they can hide behind warnings, they can, skirt laws and regulations, but they cannot look 12 people in the face and tell them that they have no idea what's going on.
That's exactly why Karen and Jason wanted to bring this case to court, to find justice for their daughter, not a quick payday.
Money was never the issue. Bringing these companies to light, bringing the drug out into the public.
We need it out of the head shops. We need nitrous oxide to be regulated. Have regulations on it. Don't just hand it out like it's candy.
It's an obvious opportunity for us to be a leader for others.
Kevin Roach, an alderman in Baldwin, Missouri, where Marissa was killed, happened to be driving by the scene minutes after Geiger smashed Marissa through the building. He believes if nitrous was banned from vape shops, Marissa might still be alive.
It's really pathetic that our system had to rely on someone's death in order to bring this into focus.
We need to get bills passed and get laws passed to keep this stuff out of smoke shops, out of retail shops, period.
Roach says whippets are still available in his hometown, but he's planning an ordinance to prohibit nitrous oxide sales in vape shops.
The point is that people are dying. You have to do whatever you can do.
What we have to ask ourselves as a community, whether it's in New Orleans, whether it's in St. Louis or California or Alaska, is how long are we going to let that happen?
Simon knows while legislation can create lasting change, a 9-figure jury verdict is an immediate blow to the nitrous industry, providing a roadmap for others addicted, hurt, or even killed by their product to hold the companies supplying a high accountable.
It sends a message loud and clear to United Brands and its competitors that if you want to choose to do this, there's going to be a consequence.
Consequences that pale in comparison to the one Jason and Karen now face for the rest of their lives.
Now I have to figure out how I live my life moving forward without her.
The jury's decision split the blame for Politte's death, but not equally, handing down an award of $700 million in punitive damages against United Brands and $25 million in damages against the vape shop that sold the nitrous, the Coffin Cardinal. The jury did not bring any punitive damages against the driver, Trenton Geiger, though he is currently serving a 2-year sentence in a Missouri prison for second-degree involuntary manslaughter.
Just last week, a judge ruled Geiger will have to pay $1,025,000 in a wrongful death settlement. Earlier this month, United Brands filed a motion for a new trial. Still, attorney Johnny Simon says the groundbreaking jury award provides a roadmap to hold the nitrous oxide industry accountable.